Good evening, Battle Creek, and welcome to another episode of Our View.
This is our show where we talk to members of our organization and members of the community so we can talk about poverty and how it affects folks in our community.
Today joining us is Alexandra Chambers, co-op member, and Elijah to talk about your experiences in our work experience program. So welcome.
Thank you.
So you took Frontline service training.
Yes, I did.
Tell us a little bit about that experience.
It was wonderful.
That's good.
I was able to learn so much in regards to being able to get back into working, and just as far as I was able to learn how to interact with I was really nervous in the beginning. I was able to learn how to just interact with people and
Put yourself out there again.
yes.
So you had a gap in employment because of becoming a mom and raising children, and you were a stay-at-home mom.
I was, and so I was very nervous at first to go back to work.
I remember that day.
Oh, yes.
But I was able to build so much confidence and really enjoyed working. So
You did a fabulous job at co-op too. So Valerie, interesting enough, when we started these education and training programs like Frontline Services that Alexandra's in, it was because co-op had a need, correct?
That is correct. So the whole reason the in-house training programs began was simply because Women's Co-op is housed inside of Trinity Lutheran Church, and we're responsible for keeping the entire space clean. We're responsible for making sure that guests are greeted when they come in the door. So we reached out to some local partners of ours and said, hey, how can we meet this need, not only with our own membership volunteering, but with folks in the community who could use a hand up, as we say.
So training and some skills
absolutely.
To be able to market themselves and for employability.
Absolutely, and so we put together these training programs that include Frontline Services, which Alexandra was a part of, and they learned the basic stuff, how to answer the phone correctly, how to send an email, how to write a formal business letter, fax, print, all of that kind of thing. Then in the janitorial program, we teach them how to become a commercial janitor, someone who could go clean the schools or work at another office facility, and how they do all the sanitation for the COVID took over. So now we've added another layer to that. How do you sanitize, and what are high touch areas, and how do you make sure that those are safe for those who are entering your building? We also have industrial sewing, and I believe the last time we talked, industrial sewing was the focal point of that conversation.
Last show we did, we had our cricket instructor, Jessie.
Yeah.
Come on, we're all wearing products of hers today.
Yes.
But we've mostly featured that show and the things that industrial sewing, because they really go into business for themselves, right?
Absolutely.
Like there's a hub and they sew and finish products. So again, if you need a pair of pants hemmed, if you need clothing altered, if you want a handmade set of curtains, if you
Right.
What else?
If you want your flower girl's dress hemmed in a fast amount of time, bring it in.
So fully functional hub that does seamstress and alteration work. But the cool thing for me for that program is the recycle part, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I'm so hung up in that because I want to, but how? And I'm sorry, like there are just things that I don't want anymore. And so all of our donated items can be recycled into other things.
Right.
And we featured some of them on the last show. So.
And I think it's really, really unique, the creativity that Linda and the ladies have in the hub, because they can take just about anything and make just about anything out of it. I mean, I just think it's amazing.
I think that's too many anything.
No thanks for that. But I really do. I think it's great how they work with it.
I think that the environment is important to me. Like you alluded to, I was really anxious that first day, but before you left that day, you were completely comfortable.
Right.
Because it is a relaxed atmosphere. Like it's not this heavy schedule, feeling like you got to get it right. Like Elijah reminds me too that, we have moms who do community service or come to the training programs, and sometimes babies have to come with because these are moms that don't really have those types of supportive services, or for some of our moms, they're court ordered to do community service, but they don't have daycare.
Right.
And so they have to bring kids with them. And in most cases, not that I'm knocking other agencies around town, because again, I'm not. I'm just trying to highlight ours, that we will allow you to bring a baby with you if you have to.
Yeah, we're very kid-friendly.
Very.
We like the babies. So I think one of the other training programs that we've started recently is the manufacturing, and that seems to be going well.
Which we couldn't do with partners, because obviously we can't manufacture
absolutely.
anything in the church other than what we do in the sewing hub. Although we would try if you gave us the parameters.
Some Legos
for it.
together or something.
We'd get together, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
We would try. But it couldn't be possible without partners. And so our first partner in that training has been Marshall Excelsior Company. And it's light industrial, but they help us to provide the site for us to train our candidates. And then after 12 weeks of training and showing up every day and demonstrating that you have those skills, you have the chance to get hired in by that partner then. It's been a nice thing to add. And all of these things bring two things, right? So there are contracts, obviously, that we have with the state of Michigan or Marshall Excelsior. So it brings in revenue for co-op to help sustain its programs, but it also brings in revenue for the women and men who are taking the training to bring sustainability for them too. So it's a win-win for both sides.
Absolutely. And the more we engage our women in outside community partners, the more they are out in the community learning different skills that perhaps we have touched on, but those community partners can help finite those skills for them and make them even better employees because they started with us. That's how I feel about it.
So before we came in to start taping today, Alexandra and I were standing out front with our camera person we're not supposed to bring attention to, but Nicole Bracey, who's over there. We see you, Nicole. We were having this conversation about the challenges within our systems and service delivery, because our families come from a place of poverty and live by survival rules for folks that are in poverty, which is different than when you're in middle class, which incidentally is usually who are delivering the services. And so the design of that really doesn't work, right? Because we're both coming from completely different places. You take the most simple thing, like, so we've built most of our programming off of Bridges Out of Poverty, which is Dr. Ruby Payne and Phil Duvall's work, but the principles there. For example, take the simplest thing of food.
Yeah.
If you are in poverty, the thinking around food is going to be, is there enough, right? Like, am I going to make it all the way through the month to feed all of us? Or you're making dinner and what always happens, company shows up, right? And you're like, oh, do I have enough to feed them too?
Oh, shoot.
Shoot, that's right, shoot. Shoot, Elijah. But if you're coming from a middle class perspective, chances are it's going to be quality, right? Like if I'm going to pay, what is it, like $17 for a pot roast now?
Oh, yeah, at least it's
buy those
ridiculous.
occasionally.
Yeah.
If I'm going to pay $17 for a pot roast, then I want it to be quality. It has to be good if I'm going to make that investment. And so, that's a pretty simple thing, food, right? We all have to eat, but the perspectives and the survival rules around it. And I think Co-op does a really nice job of translating that, right? So bringing families in poverty and translating, if you want to step up to these middle class opportunities, these are the rules that you have to live by. Even in the training programs, right? Like, these are the things that you need to do to, like, we taught you Excel, and we taught you Word, and we taught you typing. Well, actually, you spent your time typing. PowerPoint. She's like, and PowerPoint.
That seems to be the catcher for everybody.
So there were those hard skills, but then there were also those other things where this is the kind of etiquette that there is when you work at a front desk, like the environment of the organization, and you become that front face. Like, you learned all of that stuff too, and like the rules, right?
Yes.
You know, answer the phone, what's up?
We've had people answer the phone and say, what's up?
Yes. Hello?
Elijah can say, what's up? What's up? What are some of the things that you found really beneficial with co-op outside of your training? Like, I know that you had some personal exchanges and experiences within the network. Like, what comes to mind for you?
Just in regards to the whole atmosphere of the co-op, or just, I mean, all of the people that I met and I was able to talk with and get to know. I mean, I made friends and was able to interact, I mean, with people outside in the community that I would have never known.
Right.
And to this day, I mean, I go down to the farmer's market or something, and they'll be like, oh, hi, Alex. And I'm like, hi. And
Once you're in, you're in.
right. And it's just wonderful as far as being able to be comfortable in the community, and I was able to relearn so much just as far as Battle Creek goes. And it was very, very pleasant for me as far as being able to learn and kind of relearn or reteach myself how to be able to do well in the community.
Yeah. I think that that's an interesting concept for co-op too, because we're always the latest and greatest resources. We know about them right away, but the reason is because of you guys, right? Because we have that network to say, well, wait a minute, Alexandra just got that taken care of. Where did she go for that? And you guys will come in and share, oh, hey, you guys, there's this resource over here, and this is how you access it, or this is how I was able to access that. So that real-time sharing all the time.
I think the best thing that I ever heard when I first started working here was, you won't learn how to navigate the DHS system from your case manager. You'll learn it from your sisters in co-op, because they know what to say or who to go talk to or how to access what programs through there. They've learned it because they're living it day to day. And so for us, that's our education. So it's a twofold. We're helping you by learning new skills and new policies and things that you can carry forth into the workplace, but in that same, you're teaching us, hey, this is how it really is, and it's not all as a perception may seem from where you're at. This is what's really happening out there. So
I'm just amazed. I mean, okay, so I'm a co-founder, and it was a table just like this. Like, it was in my kitchen. There were 8 or 10 of us, and we used to get together just like this and talk about what we were struggling with and how we could help each other. And I think it's interesting that 18 years later, you add all the different programming and the training and all the different things that we do, but that table is still the important part, right? Like when Alexandra speaks about her experience there, it's like it's the friends, it's the network, it was the atmosphere of knowing that I was okay because I was with other women that were experiencing the same thing that I was. Like, it's kind of cool that it's still about that thing.
And I think that takes us back to one of our mandatory meetings that we did, where we asked folks, we've been together now for, at that point, I think it was 13 years. And we asked them to write what co-op meant to them on a chalkboard. And we we would get things like programs, place to help with your DHS
rent,
paperwork, your rent, whatever that may be. But surprisingly enough, we got a lot of it was friendship, sisterhood. I feel comfortable here. I feel safe here. Things like that that are like
Found my voice here.
right, like they're actually tangible, not just tangible things that we can help with, but things that you have adapted as you've moved forward in your life to make you feel like, hey, this is my family and this is part of my family. And I think for a lot of folks who didn't grow up with a really close bond with their family, that's super important. And to be a part of that network is like you have 300 sisters and you didn't even know it. So,
Some of which you like and some of which you don't.
which is just like having sisters.
I didn't have sisters, so I don't know. I have daughters. Yeah, I think that when anybody asks me, what is the co-op? I always start with, well, the heart of what co-op is the network. Because those exchanges are so important to everything else. Yes, we offer training. Yes, we can help you get your GED in the community. Yes, we civically engage and try to help systems be better informed to better serve our families. Like, there is those high-level programming things we do, but the heart of what we do are those exchanges that make us want to come together and do those things in trust and transparency, I think.
And it's huge. I feel like if we could take a helicopter view over all that we've done over the last, I'd say 14 years, because that's how long I've been here, but the last 14 years, this organization has grown with our families. Like, we now have a couple of members who started co-op as their moms were members.
Yeah.
And now they're members. And so,
Well, and our daughters have
Yeah.
been members, and
Yeah.
we've seen Elijah since birth.
Belly.
Well, and that was an exchange within the network too. Do you mind if we? Yeah. So Alexandra, this was a baby that was unexpected and came pretty quickly, as babies do. And it was your sisters from co-op that stepped up and gathered things that you would need for baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the things we like to do, right? Though we like to come in the kitchen and cook for somebody who's sick or experienced a loss. Like, we're all about cooking and taking casseroles, and we're all about babies, like anything for babies, right?
right.
I think that's the donations too. Like, you get done, Elijah grows out of something, you bring it to the closet and you donate it, and you scoop up the thing for the next size that probably Jesse's Elijah has just grown out of.
It works.
And it works, right?
It does work, and that's huge, because that's what our families need, is that to be able to feel like you belong. And in the beginning, when I first started doing intakes, I would say, well, I need you to make sure that you can do A, B, and C. And I would have women say to me, I can barely afford to pay my bills. I don't have anything to give. And so I learned very quickly that to address that, it's not necessarily that you have to give away anything. It's just your involvement. And maybe it's just so much as sitting on the bench and listening to someone vent because they're upset, or having a conversation with someone about how needs can be met outside of the resources that they know.
Or talents, right?
Right.
Like, think of the people who just share talents. Like, my favorite story is about that is a member we had, Amber, and one of the co-op members had pulled in their car, was making that noise, that tick, 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 tick. And she was like, oh, girl, she needs oil. And we're like, what? She's like, yeah, she needs oil. To shorten the story, Amber had brothers and uncles who were mechanics, and she just knew cars. And so she ended up teaching a class, I think for 3 or 4 summers, in our parking lot, where she would show women, this is how you put air in your tire, this is how you change a tire, this is where the antifreeze goes, which seems like simple things, but I didn't know any of that stuff.
I think my favorite one was when she had the car up on the jack with the tire laying under it, and the parishioners who do the garden from the church walk by like, what's going on over there? All these girls around this
Gathered
car.
around that tire.
Like, do we need to help, or are we just supposed to watch? What are we doing? And then Amber just took right over and
How many co-op women does it take to change a tire? As many as it takes.
Yeah, you and Elijah agree. Oh, he sees himself.
It's good for Elijah that he has all those sisters too, because he grows up in a pack of women.
Yep.
Yeah, some women will really appreciate you someday. All of us teaching you the way. So Elijah, yeah, you want to answer that, huh? Alexandra, tell us about the experience that you had doing the film. Like, what was that like? We did that film, Poverty in Battle Creek, and Poverty in the Creek, as me and Jesse murdered that last show. We were like, I asked her about it, and she couldn't remember the name, and neither could I, because I don't think we ever really technically landed on a name. At Co-op, we finally called it Poverty in the Creek. Like a documentary, but tell us about that experience. What was that like?
It was great for me. Just I was able to speak with a lot of different people in regards to a lot of different community events or
Like services and
different services that were offered in Battle Creek, and
Sometimes they're easily accessible and sometimes they're not.
yeah.
correct. But
You want me to take him for a while? You come? Maybe? Look, it's Mama. He's over there now. There he is.
But I was just able to work with so many different people that were able to tell me about the different resources and like just things that are in Battle Creek downtown, and different things that I was able to connect with, and different people that I was able to meet that have really helped.
Right.
I think that's really empowering too, right? Like when partners come in to our facility or into our group, it's not like they're just coming in and going, okay, here are our services, here's how we deliver them. They're mingling with our women. And sometimes I think it makes it more empowering that you can network with community resources, not just sit in an audience and hear about them, but you can actually network with them.
But I was able to, like, there were so many different events and opportunities for me and my kids to go to that I would have never known about. And we had so much fun. I mean, my kids, they love it.
How are you feeling about the kids being back to school? Like, it feels safe. You feel like the school is.
Oh, yes.
With that kind. What about transportation for you? Do you have a car? So do you take the girls to school, or?
Oh, the kids ride the bus.
Oh, they do. We have a lot of members. What district are you in? They go to Battle Creek Public, or?
Yes.
Yes. We have a lot of moms that are struggling with transportation for Battle Creek Public.
They're really short on bus drivers.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful that we have a bus right now.
Have you had a bus since school started, or?
Yes. And no.
Oh, okay, so not every day.
Well, it started off kind of iffy, but now it's perfect.
Oh, okay. So I guess they're getting the kinks worked out, and they're getting some bus drivers. You want to drive a bus? Could I drive a bus? That's challenging.
Yeah.
It's very challenging.
Kudos to all those folks who are able to be a bus driver, because
oh my gosh, and
I get
teachers
distracted
too, right?
driving down the road with the grandkids in the car. I can't imagine driving down the road with
45 kids in the back of the bus?
No, kudos to you guys. and to the teachers who are having to deal with all of the ins and outs of, well, do we have COVID this morning or no? So
He's
wrap
on the
it up.
move.
So he's so cute.
What do you think, well, both of you actually, what do you think the top 3 barriers are for families in poverty? And we'll end there today. Like, what are the top 3 barriers in our community?
I would say childcare would definitely be one. Transportation. And finances.
Like having enough or
Right.
managing them?
Both.
Both. What do you think, Val? I
Oh,
think she hit it on the nail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely childcare. That seems to be a very large issue right now. So
And it's not, I mean, we have childcare. It's just access to it and access for the right times, right? So, like, I guess mostly I hear from Val because I have a different tier of case management, but it's daycare for the second and third shift.
yeah, absolutely.
And then for like weekends.
Yeah. And that's, that's something that when we do our training programs, we look at too, like how can we fit our training programs in with what's accessible for daycare and how is that going to affect you moving forward and becoming a successful employee with your daycare.
Yep.
So,
And then transportation, it's just being able to get everywhere that we need to get reasonably.
and the buses run, but not everywhere, and it takes so long if you're going to take a bus. And how do you take a bus to drop your child off at daycare? Then you take a bus back to work, and then
Well, it's like one of our members, Samantha, she has a 6-year-old in kindergarten and at Urbandale School, and then she has an infant. And, I mean, I'm not knocking the school. I know they're trying and doing what they can, but the offering to her was to take a city bus. But I can't imagine what that would be like early in the morning to drag your brand new baby out, ride a bus all the way downtown, then all the way out to Urbandale, drop off your child, do that in the reverse to get home, and then do it again.
that would be stressful.
So I think we definitely know the top 3 barriers for our families. I think we nailed that one. Can you say, see you next time, Battle Creek? Bye-bye. See you next
Say
time.
bye.
Thanks for having me and Mom. Good night, everybody. See
Thank
you
you for
next time.
joining us.